Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for joining our monthly webinar. We're really glad to have you here and to share with you what's happening with Rapido. So I'm going to start with sharing my screen. So give me a second just to do this. And as always, we'll try to have time for questions, most probably at the end. Just a second, I want to share. Okay, I hope you're all seeing this. Okay, perfect. I think you are. Okay, I can't really see your comments here, so we everything's okay. Okay, so we are at the end of July, and let's see what we have today. As always, we'll talk a little bit about the state of Rapido and the wonderful community. We'll go through the August release, and we'll touch upon a frequently asked question. Let's start with the Rapido community. First of all, we want to welcome Linda Hall and other institutions that have joined this month. The community, we have institutions from North America and institutions from the UK. So we're really, really glad to have this new institutions. And of course, the meaning of this is that our network is growing. By the way, Linda Hall is a very special library because it's a net lending library. So in a way, it gives you further services, and we'll speak more about it in the future with new developments related to them. So you could in possibility use them as you're using today services like Reprints Desk or the CCC. I'll talk a little bit in a sec about Interland UK, which is a conference about resource sharing. So just to share a little bit of what happened there, it was a wonderful conference. And I also wanted to share with you that even though we're going to go through the developments of that this version is bringing to you, the team is working very hard on supporting Rapido to be used with any ILS. I am not presenting those developments here in our sessions because they're less relevant, but there is a lot of work around that. And our goal, as we announced during Eluna, stays as it is. So we're planning actually pretty soon by the end of this year to already have our first institution that doesn't have Alma using Rapido. So just for you to know that there is a lot of work that is not being specifically shared in these webinars, but it's work done around that area. And of course, this will bring a lot of benefit to our community with more growth. Wanted also to share some numbers since we're looking at numbers now. And there are very good numbers for fulfillment of requests. You can see here that we have between 86 and 88 fulfillment rate for physical requests, which is very high. And it's very interesting because 94 to 96% of those are filled by the first partner. So we're not wasting time in looking for the wrong partner. So Rapido is doing its job, and we're following, of course, in these numbers. And we will. Our aim is to make them as higher as possible. Now, I want to share a little bit about Interland. Again, it's a forum for interlending and information delivery in the UK. It was a very interesting conference. It was online. They haven't gone live. They haven't gone back to in person, maybe next year. But it was very interesting to hear the stories from various different institutions that were sharing. We also presented there. I just wanted to share with you that one of the presentations, it's something to think about, is how the usage of analytics, how they're using analytics in order to check how they're performing their service. And I know many of you have done this, but again, the importance of this was shown in one of the sessions. And maybe this is also an opportunity to talk about Igloo. Igloo is coming up very, very soon. And so it's a month and a half from now, I believe. So I really hope to be able to see those of you that can make it to Igloo. I will be joining there, and we'll have more people from the resource sharing team attending Igloo, and hoping to hear those sessions. And if not, of course, we'll be in touch anyways in other ways. But for those of you that are going to be there, please do get in touch. If you're there, come and say hello in person. Also wanting to share a little bit of the customer success story. So you can see here Megan. Many of you know Megan. Megan is our Rapido customer success manager, and she connected this month with the California Library. So she actually visited in person. She could visit in person and heard from them. And if she so my recommendation for those of you that are live with Rapido and working with Megan, she can't always visit you, but make sure you are in touch with her, that you're using this opportunity to make Rapido as a success for you. And just this as a reminder of her role here of helping you make the most of the system. And now we're moving actually to the release highlights. So let's go there. Okay. So what's coming up? It's not really June. It's I think it's we are already on the August release, but let's talk about what's happening next week. Okay. So the first thing that's happening next week is copyright efficiencies. We've done a change on copyright efficiencies. And what you have here is what I'm trying to show you here is a complete flow with what we've done. So when you need to do copyright, one of the things that we suggest to do for you to do, and I think it comes out of the box by default, you can enable it, is create a set of awaiting copyright clearance. So you can see here, I have my set, either I have created it myself or used the out of the box set. And you can see here, I have actually 12 requests that are awaiting me for copyright clearance. Okay, so of course I click on it and I get my the results of the sets. And now the next step would be in the setup that you have now currently in the current version of Rapido before the August release, to go into the edit mode, and then this big form will open up and you'll need to scroll down. If I recall correctly, it doesn't appear on the top. You need to scroll down, and then you would need to review this part and set it to approve, etc. And this is what we've changed for the purpose of efficiency. So you don't have to do all of these clicks and all of this work. And we've pulled out the copyrights to the right pane. So now the idea is once you get to those results, you'll have in the right pane the copyright section, and you can just simply go and select the right option and save the request. This is going to save a lot of time for you instead of going into that. Of course, all of the functionality on the edit mode is still there. So if you still are keen to do that through that form, you can still do it, of course. But note that you have this on the right pane, and all of the functionality that is related to the right pane, like removing sections, etc., of course, is also relevant for this section. And once you select the option, for example, in this case, I'm selecting copyright approved, you can save, and the request you can see here, and I'll show it again, is being saved, and it has the right information. If we go back to the sets, you'd see that my set has been reduced to 11. So we've done with one, but of course you don't have to go and check every time that this has happened. You just go through the list and process the copyright. So this is one efficiency that we've added this month, and just a little bit of also a reminder of what happens when you make changes on the right pane. You can see here that we have this. I don't know if you've seen this before, because this was added a couple of months ago. It's something relatively new. You have here the clear indication of the saved. So you can see that it's saved. And also, if something in your list has changed, it won't disappear immediately, right? But you can see here that actually you might want to refresh because there have been changes. In your workflow, you don't need to change. You can go just one by one and do your work for copyright clearance. But if you want to actually see those requests disappear, of course, you can click here on the refresh and you have the clear indication that something has changed. Okay, so I'm going to move on to another development, and this development is related to all of this functionality that we're big net lenders. And we actually presented this to you last month, but back to it because we've added a new version to this, and I think it's a good opportunity to review once again. So in our past release, we added the self-registration option. So the idea that you can enable individuals or users to self-register via your Primo, your discovery. And it's right that we're doing this for net lending purposes, but of course, this is functionality that we thought would be might be relevant for many of you. So this is why we're also talking a lot about it, because you might want to consider it. So again, I'm going to go through the steps of how you do this for the sake of clarity, and then we'll further go into what we've added in this release related to this functionality, which actually adds even more power to it. So as we presented, I think last month, for each view, you can decide whether to enable the registration. You can see here I'm on the particular configuration of the views. And now we have this checkbox, allow self-registration. If you enable it, then you'll see shortly what will appear. In addition to that, and again, this is something we presented, we do want these patrons to have these users that are very special users to have a particular user group. So we also have added a new configuration option for self-registration, which mainly enables us to define two separate groups for the self-registration. And if you've enabled the view and set up this functionality, this is what will happen. So when users enter Primo VE, or in this case, could be users from another organization, if you've enabled this, you would have another option, not a member yet, registered. And then two options are available for this self-registration. One is for individual users. You can see here the two forms that we have. So one is for an individual, and the second one is for an organization. Again, the organization can also have multiple individuals. So you would have, for example, a company name or an institution name, and then you have you have the option to add multiple users under this organization. Again, the purpose of this development is for self-registration of organizations that are doing resource sharing with net lenders. And but I think this development can be useful in other different cases. What we've added this month, you'll see it in a second. First of all, I'm here registering. I'm using the individual form to register, and you can see here that once register, I can enter the system. This is the user I created. Do a search, and then place a request. So I've placed the request, and what I'm going to show you now is that the request came in with a particular label. So this is what I want to show you how we implemented this So we added a mediation rule. You'll see it in a second. That will enable me for this type of users to add a label and furthermore. Okay, so but beyond that, the idea is also that of course you can create, going back to our the whole workflows contained, create a set based, for example, in this label, based on this label, which could be an important step for this type of uh, users that are coming into the system. So in this case, I called it user unauthorized because actually with the new label that we've created, I'm stopping every request that is coming from a new user that has come into the system. So I'm enabling the self-registration. I'm enabling the option to create a request. I don't want to stop this in terms, this is a known workflow with the net lenders. They don't want to stop the organization at this point from creating the request, but they do want to stop they do want to review the user when the first request comes in. So this is one of the things that that they want to do. So what you can see here is that we've added a new mediation. I am going to call it review new user. This is how I want to call it. And the parameter that I'm using for the mediation is user authorized for resource sharing = no. In reality, the idea here is that I want to review those users before they continue in the process of resource sharing, but I do want to enable them to put a request. Okay. So here I have my mediation rule. It's enabled. It's the first one. And let's see how this looks. Okay, so now what we have here is the following. So we've added, so the request has stopped. Let me go just up. We've stopped the request. You know, we have the user information somewhere down here in the screen. It has stopped for mediation. The next step would be for me to go into the user. And by the way, we'll soon have, I don't know exactly which release, the option to just click on the user and jump into it, which is a good integration from Rapido to Alma, but that's coming up. But today you can see the user information, search for the user via the search tab, and go into this new user. You can see this is the new user that was created. And what we've added here, and I do want you to pay attention because we've added this to all users. When you have Rapido, so you might want to know this. User verified by resource sharing staff, like a little toggle field. Now, just to make sure that there's no panic here, existing users will continue to work as today. So this new checkbook, first of all, it's only for Rapido institutions, if there are institutions here that are not Rapido. For users that are created via the self-registration only, the checkbook is left empty, so it's set to no, basically. This is why the parameter for my mediation rule = no, so empty means no. Of course, all of the users you've created today are marked as yes. It has nothing to do. Again, all of our different rules, just to make sure, all of the display logic rules, all of the different rules you have to enable or disable from users to do resource sharing still exist. So you can view this toggle field only as a toggle field for the self-registration. So nothing changes. Your users next month will continue to be able to do resource sharing. They won't be stopped by the mediation rule. And again, maybe this is something to make sure that I want to make sure that you understand that if you don't put the mediation rule, the request will flow. So there's really nothing here in terms of I'll call it regression. Okay, there's no regression at all. If you want requests from new users to stop, you can use the mediation rule. The self-registration users are by default set to no. all other users you create in other ways through Alma will continue to work as today. So actually they're checked by default. But again, the real power of this toggle field, the toggle field only comes into power with the mediation rule. So it's really there's really no even if they're set to no, but you haven't set the mediation rule, nothing will happen. So again, I just want to make sure this has no effect on display law rules. It is mainly using the mediation rule to review the newly created request and user. This is the workflow. Then you mark the checkbox and once you mark this checkbox, this user will continue to be able to create requests, and they will not be stopped in the future because you already know who this user is. And going back to that little introduction on the Interland session that I attended, of course, all of this will be supported. We're adding this field, this release. So next release, you'll have this also reflected in analytics. And then, of course, you can do a lot using the different tools that we have. Okay, so I'm setting this to yes. I've verified this new user that came in via the self-registration. And just a little note, I am going to remove the label. The workflow will be to remove the label, send the request so that it can continue with the regular flow. So after I've checked the user, I'm okay with releasing the request. I go back to the task list. I remove the label, hit send, and the request will just flow. Okay. Let's move on to another development, and this development might not be relevant for all of you. It's also a development that is relevant for not many institutions, but some institutions that are adding a cost to patron for digital requests. So what we've added here is that if you recall, again, I know many of you are not using this, so maybe you don't notice it, but there is a cost to patron that can be either attached to a pod or to digital. So when we create the cost to patron for digital, we select the digital option. What we've added with this new, and the cost is displayed to the user in this case for this type of institutions. First of all, whatever for those institutions, and I know there are institutions in this session that are using this option. For those institutions, nothing changes. Whatever is working now will continue to work as today. But the idea is that actually the cost that we were applying was applying only for the processing via Rapid, so the Rapid network. This is how these institutions were working. But we do have some institutions that also want to do this for when fulfilling a request locally, for the field locally request. So for this particular case, we've added the possibility to enable it also. So by default, those of you that are using it are actually set up with this to yes, and that will continue to be. If you want to also, if you're using the field locally workflows and you want this as well, you will need to go into this little window and select the field locally. Again, not a very wide usage, but something that's needed. One of the very clear examples of when this is needed is for the net lenders workflows. We're actually connecting the self-registration. You would need to, these users that are coming into the system and are not part of these institutions but want to get an offer from them will actually use the field locally mechanism to provide these materials. Okay. Something that we were asked from the community for quite a while. So you recall we have something called the include zero values parameters. So when you, for the facets, so when we enter our task list via the sets, you have a particular view of facets according to that set, but you couldn't see zero value, what we call zero value. So you couldn't create sets for things that did not had yet a parameter. So I think more than a year ago, we developed the include zero values option that enables you to view on the facets. On the left side menu, enables you to see values that don't actually options where there is no request that meets the criteria. And before that, zero values, we couldn't create sets for things that didn't have an actual request. So one of the things that we didn't have and we're adding now is the partners. So now you can see here, I'm showing you both for the borrowing library and the lending library. So I'm showing from borrowing request and lending request. Actually, if you expand the include zero values, you'll also see partner information. When would this be used? So we have some institutions that actually have created particular sets for particular partners, and this enables them to create those sets. For example, if you have a particular partner that you want to deal with first, or there's a specific staff member that deals with this particular partners, they can create the sets. And now let's talk about where this information is coming from. So the first main place where this information is coming from is from your institutional partners. So partners that are in your institutional tab, your pods, and the rapid partners to which you're associated. So this is how we're bringing this information. Okay, moving on. Okay, let's talk a little bit about our users, how things look. And I want to summarize a very big development that we've announced it in various releases, but we're actually closing this project for now. Of course, if there's more that needs to be done, we'll do it. But really, the August release finalizes our big of the whole multi-volume project. Last part that we needed to fine tune for the whole multi-volume to work was the display logic rules. So this is why I'm putting this under this section, because the display logic rules were still working with the old mechanism of multi-volume, but now the offer is actually calculated according to that. So if, for example, you've set a display logic rule where you don't want to show the resource sharing option if you have the material, or if it's not in the spam of your holdings, this wasn't taken into account with our new way of calculating how what you have or don't have in your institution. And this is the last part of our developments for multi-volume coming up in August. So now everything is calculated in the same way. So I hope you enjoyed this, and it's not something that you need to do or check, but it will be more exact in terms of your users. And the last one is related to the URL, the open URL matching mechanisms. Again, for this, we're bringing results that are more exact or more accurate results from the link resolver. And the thing that we're doing is that we're not matching based on title only when they're identifiers on the input of the request. So we're the third part of the match when we build the service that we display to our users has been fine-tuned, and it's more exact. Again, nothing to do here. We're just improving the algorithm of how we make those matches. And lastly, I want to move to analytics. So the development that we're bringing for you this month is that there was previously you could add only one entry to the date, so you couldn't select the range of dates. So it was only just a particular date, and we've added actually the possibility to select a range of dates. So from date to date, which was something that you didn't have, you just had from a creation date, from arrival date. This is the example that we have. And now you can see we have actually two boxes, so you can select from date to date. So this is, I think it's going to help a lot with the way you're viewing what's happening in the system. Okay, so these were highlights for this release. And with that, I want to move to the frequently asked question, and then we'll stop sharing and we'll move to see if there are questions. Okay, so this is a question that came to us and we thought it was good to share with everyone. Can user groups be visible from the user pop-up? So we have the user pop-up, and we'll see it in a second. And we've asked that it's for many staff members, it's really important to have the user group information visible while looking at requests. I think it's an important question, and the answer is yes. So what we're showing you here is this configuration. There's a configuration menu under user management, general contact information pop-up. So this actually controls what you're seeing also in Rapido. So if you want to change this, you can see here there's a bunch of fields that are available for display. And by default, there's some elements that are set up as to display, but there are others that are disabled, so you won't see them. One of them is the user group. So of course you can see them here below. And if you enable them, and this is back to our Rapido, you can see that we've actually enabled those, so we can see the user group clearly here. And I think many of you might want to actually enable this. Maybe, I don't know, but the possibility is there. So this is one of the questions that we've gotten. Okay, so with this, I finished the presentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing. Okay. And I'm back with you. And I heard that last time there was an issue with asking questions, so I'm not really sure if that's the issue still. But we have the chat, and I hope you can make, I don't know if you can make use of the chat, but I hope you can. And we have plenty of time for questions, so I'll be happy to take them. I hope you can use chat at least. There's a Q&A as well. So yes, we have a Q&A and a chat. So have both options. Okay, we'll give it a minute, and if not, you'll gain a little bit of time for yourselves. It's the end of the day, so you might want to go home, and for the others, it's the beginning, so you might want to start working. So I'm not seeing questions, so I will just say happy summer or happy winter, wherever you are. And you know where we are. Happy to connect with you only through this webinar, but in general, we're here to help you. So thank you so much for joining us. Goodbye.